loud, so it'll just, okay, there we go. All right, so good evening, everybody. Hopefully you can see my setup here. So you should just about see two Thermomixes and me, and then I'm going to do a close-up on my screen because I've found that's really useful for people to see how the Thermomix works and understand the function. So tonight's demo is going to be super quick. I'm a devil for talking though. I do apologise, and if you get me going off piece, then who knows what time we'll finish, but hopefully I shouldn't take up too much of your Friday evening. And I'm very well aware that it's going to be quite difficult for you to watch me make a delicious meal and then not be able to eat it. So my children have got the delight of that at 7 o'clock, and they're all starving hungry, so they just want me to get on with it. So tonight we're going to make a butter chicken, which is one of the Thermomix classic recipes. All new customers make it, absolutely rave about it. It will hopefully show you how quick and easy it is with a Thermomix to make a restaurant quality curry. And really the Thermomix is there as your sous chef, getting on, doing all the processes, the boring processes for you, so you can relax and do something else, which frankly is what you should be doing on a Friday evening. So hopefully you've all got a drink. I've got I don't drink anymore. I gave up alcohol about 18 months ago. So I've got a non-alcoholic beer. So hopefully you've got a glass of wine or a gin and tonic, or something like that, and you're going to enjoy the session and enjoy seeing the Thermomix in action. So alongside the butter chicken, we're also going to make a naan bread. I whipped up a little bit earlier so that you can see it from start to finish, because it would be quite tight in the hour or so that we've got. And I might do something else as well if we've got time as a little surprise, because it is great. It's a great opportunity for you to see the versatility of what this thing can do. So first of all, I'm going to get started with the naan bread recipe. And then as the Thermomix is cooking and we've got a bit of free time, I'll sort of show you around the functions. I'll also show you cookie dough and how cookie dough works, and all the clever things that you can do with cookie dough. But let's get cooking to start with. Right, so I'm just going to go into my weekly planner. So if you can see on the screen where I've got a close-up here, I have got some recipes that I've put into my weekly planner. So this is one of the clever things that you can do with Thermomix. Through our recipe app, you can plan exactly what you want to cook over the week, over the months. You can plan 3 months ahead, 6 months ahead if you want to. Then once you've got a schedule or a to-do list of what you want to be cooking, you can then transfer all those ingredients onto an ingredient shopping list, and then you can sync that with your online shopping provider for delivery of those ingredients direct to your door. So it's a bit like the sort of, I suppose, the basic context behind those meal subscription boxes, only you've got 80,000 recipes to play with. And it's a lot cheaper as well, because you are cooking from scratch and you are not wasting money on having lots of little individual ingredients individually prepped for you. That is where the Thermomix comes in and takes over. So I'm just going to get on with, you can see I've got, in fact, I'm giving away my secrets now. You might see what else I'm cooking. But I'm going to get on with the naan bread. So I'm just going to select the recipe, and you can see it appears to me on the screen. So all I need to do, if I want to have a quick look through the ingredients, I've got that opportunity in the steps, but I'm just going to click Start Cooking, and off we go. So I'm going to walk you through the first part of the recipe, just purely because I want to fit this into a really short space of time, and I've done some prep, but you'll see how the instructions are delivered to you on the screen. So first of all, it's going to ask me to put some coriander in, and then tells me to put the lid on, and then it's going to chop that coriander for me. So all our recipes are delivered to you in terms of time, temperature, and speed. And if you think about the general cooking process, it is a combination of those three factors, isn't it? How long you cook something for, what sort of temperature, and how often you need to stir it. And Thermomix recipes are no different. So it wants you to chop that coriander up first of all, and then transfer it to a bowl. Hang on, I'm just going to let Annie in. Annie, don't worry if you've just joined us, we've only just got started. So the coriander is going into the bowl. And then, oh, hang on a minute. Now it wants us to put in a tablespoon of ghee. So I've done that already. In fact, I didn't have any ghee, so I just used some butter. So I just put my butter in, and then lid on, and it's going to heat that butter up. So this is where the Thermomix is really, oh, Annie, I think, could you just put yourself on mute? Hang on, let me just, I'll just mute you, actually, there you go. Okay, so this is where the Thermomix sort of differs from other appliances like a food processor, because it has that ability to combine the functions of a food processor, but with the functions of a hob. So it will heat and chop for you, or it will heat and stir itself at the same time. So here we go. We've got the temperature that has been selected for us in this guided recipe is a high temperature called Varoma. It's just above 120 degrees. And all it wants you to do is turn the Thermomix to a gentle stir, speed 1. You can see I've got this instruction here. So it tells you exactly what you are doing on that step. Then you're going to need to add some garlic cloves, put the lid on. It's going to chop the garlic cloves. You can see you've got your 3 seconds. And then we've got a speed 6, which is more of a sort of a chop rather than a stir. So our lower speeds are for sort of the gentle stirring functions. And then when you get all the way around to speed 10, that would be a blend. Tells you to scrape down the sides, then add your nigella seeds. So they're the little black onion seeds. And then it's going to toast the garlic and the seeds for you. So again, we've got a minute on the clock for Varoma, speed 1. So, and then it asks you to transfer into a separate bowl, which is exactly what I've done here. There you go. If you're on a dairy-free diet, you could use olive oil or something like that instead of the butter or ghee. Now, do not clean the mixing bowl. Again, this is one of the things I love about the Thermomix. It means that you can minimize your washing up. So if you don't like washing up, you're going to love the Thermomix because you don't need to do lots of washing up. And when you do need to wash up, the Thermomix will do it for you. So first of all, it's going to ask me to put in some milk. So all I have to do, you can see here, I'm just going to reset my scales to 0. So that tear button just means reset to 0. Now I'm going to halve the recipe because I did half of the recipe earlier. So I'm going to just weigh in 120 grams. Now I'm a chef. Funnily enough, I said no to Thermomix for a long time. The advisor had to work really hard to convince me to buy one. So I understand everyone's objections to it, because actually I had my own over the course of about 4 years. I really made her work for her money. But as a chef, I don't always follow the guided recipe. I tend to go a little bit off-piste, as I do in my demos. So I have to get myself back on track. But this wants me now, and you'll see where I'm going with this in a minute. It's going to ask me to add some yeast. So I'm just going to put in my yeast. But the Thermomix will then want you to warm the milk up to body temperature, and it will sort of dissolve the yeast in the milk and warm it up. So it will start to activate the yeast. Now, I'm not going to do that because actually this is instant yeast, so it works just as well with cold milk. But this, you would want to warm it if you're slightly pushed on time, really. But I'm going to avoid this step. So you don't have to feel that you have to do every step to the letter with a Thermomix. These recipes are guided. They are there to help you work through a recipe. But if you want to ignore a step, if you want to double the ingredients, if you want to leave something out, you've still got full control over it. So you can see, oh, I'm just clicking through and not actually doing what it's told me. So I've just avoided heating up that milk. It's now asking me to put in a tablespoon of olive oil. So what I'm going to do, put my scales on, because it wants you to use a measuring spoon. I haven't got one to hand, so I'm just going to weigh in. Just less washing up at the end of the day. 15 grams. Well, actually, you can see it's probably not quite 15 grams because I'm a bit out of olive oil. See if I can grab another one. There we go. I made a load of pesto the other day, so I'm a bit short on oil. There we go. Right, a bit of sugar. So a teaspoon of sugar going in. little bit of sugar, a bit of salt. Hopefully you can all see. Annie, I know you've just joined us, and I think there was somebody else who's just joined. If you can't see me side by side on your screen, then just flick horizontally across on your phone screen, and you should see 2 images of me side by side, one more of an overview and then one a close-up on the screen. So let me just put in, and I'm halving the recipe, so I need to remember that. So it's going to ask me to weigh in my flour. So in I go with my flour, should be about that. And then some garlic paste. I haven't bothered actually making garlic paste, so all I'm going to do is just chop up a garlic clove and put that in. Now, garlic paste, again, all your pastes, things like curry paste, tandoori, all the curry pastes, Thai paste, that sort of thing, you can easily make in a Thermomix. And garlic paste and, you know, that minced garlic and ginger paste are no exception. You can do that as well. And I often have a jar in my fridge. I've just run out of it. Now some natural yogurt. So this, again, you'll notice probably that I'm using a yogurt, a homemade yogurt. So this is yogurt. I make all my yogurt in the Thermomix now. And it saves me about £10 a week just making my own yogurt. I can control all the ingredients, and it is literally less than about 5 minutes hands-on effort. But that's something, you know, we can talk about afterwards. I just want to get on with cooking. And actually, it was interesting because I used to try and make yogurt. I had a yogurt maker before I had a Thermomix, and I really wanted to get into yogurt making. My children would never accept it. They said it didn't taste like the Muller corners that they had. And now I make it in the Thermomix. They can't tell the difference between it. So I often do mummy corners, and I put a little dollop of homemade jam or some little mini Smarties in. And yeah, I say it costs me less than half the price of buying the branded yogurts. I know what's in it. I can add extra probiotics as well. And I don't have all the plastic to throw away in the bin as well. Right, so that's all gone in. And now you're just going to turn your selector to speed 3, and it's going to mix. So can you see at the bottom, it's telling you what is happening in the Thermomix. So sometimes it will say sauteing, sometimes it will say stirring. And obviously we're just mixing that dough together. Right, I'm not going to let it run for the whole time. Keeping the measuring, what we call the measuring cup, which is just this little infill piece which sits inside the lid to seal it off. It's called a measuring cup because it is a measuring cup. So these machines have been German designed and engineered, and they've been designed to replace as many appliances and accessories as possible in the kitchen. So all you really need in your kitchen is a Thermomix, and as the Australians would say, an air fryer as well. So a Thermomix and an oven would do it. So you'll notice here that my dough mode has come on. So I've got 3 minutes on the clock. All I need to do is just turn that to start the kneading process, and my Thermomix is just going to knead away for me. And I just think it's quite useful at this time. I always show people just what it looks like when it's kneading. I don't know if you can see in there, the dough being kneaded. It might actually be too dark in here. I can't figure out how to put a torch, a light on it. Hang on, let me just see if I can grab that as well. That might do it. So you can see this, we've got this super fast knead action. Am I over the top of it? I can't actually see what I'm looking at now. And it sort of goes one way and then the other. And you can knead most doughs in there in about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. So it speeds up the whole process. And then once it's kneaded, you'll see, let's just move that out of the way. Just give myself a bit of space. You end up with this lovely dough. And as you can see, this is just nicely risen. So in order, again, one of the great things with a Thermomix is you can fast ferment, and I will show you that process. So I'll show you what I do with the dough when it comes out of the Thermomix. Right, so let's get on with, while it's kneading away, let's get on with the curry. So I'm going to do the curry in this one. let's go into not recently cooked. That's my history, my week. Who's off mute?
Ball will go in the corner.
Let's just mute you. I think everybody's on mute. Right. Okay, so I'm going to get on with making the main event now, this butter chicken curry. So I found it in my weekly planner. Let's just pop that on the other side so you can see. I'm just going to click start cooking. And now it's going to start to walk me through the recipe. So what it wants me to do is put a bowl on the top of my Thermomix, and then I'm going to use it as a set of weighing scales to weigh in the chicken. So it's asking for 500 grams of chicken. As you can see, I've already done this part just to speed things up, and then mixed in with 100 grams of chicken tikka paste. Now, you can make your own tikka paste, as I've mentioned, or you can buy it from the shop. It doesn't really matter. And then remove it and stir it well, and then pop it in the fridge until needed. So now we're going to start with the recipe. We're going to start building up our curry. So hopefully you can see this all properly. I'm just trying to move you forward a bit so you don't see my MacBook in the back of my MacBook on the screen. So now you can see it's asking me to put in ghee. Now I don't have ghee, but I'm just going to use a bit of butter. So I've just got some homemade butter here, which I'm going to get rid of. So I'm going to pop that in and then possibly put a little bit of oil in as well. I haven't found ghee actually in the supermarket for a long time. But I'm sure I'm due to go to Waitrose tomorrow, so I'm sure I'll find it up there. Right, then it's going to ask me to put the lid on, and then it's going to heat that up to a high temperature. So you can see we've got a minute on the clock. We've got this aroma temperature, and it just says turn the speed to speed 1. So it's just heating that ghee and melting the butter and heating it up to a high temperature, ready for us to put our onions and garlic and chili in. Right, so let's just, while it's doing that, move you across here. I might just add a little bit of time, purely because I've obviously put a chunk of butter in rather than liquid ghee. You can see, here's my dough. There's my dough that's made. I'll just show it to you on like that. So all I'm going to do with that dough, I'll just move you back a bit. And get on my work surface. Let me just move this one out of the way. Grab another silicone mat. I've got them coming out my ears, so I should be able to find another one. Oh, leave that wrapped up in there for the time being. So let's get this dough out. This is where I've suddenly realised I have halved some of the ingredients and not others. But I think we're okay. And then we use the spatula. So you're going to use a spatula just to get it out of the bowl. So the spatula is really quite useful actually. And the spatula comes with the Thermomix as well. So we even give you a spatula when you're spending 1,200 quid because we're generous like that. Right, so as you can see straight away, the blades drop out, and I like to get every last bit out. I hate wasting in a kitchen. So let's just, I usually use a sort of a flat bladed knife, but you can actually spin the blades on turbo, and then the dough tends to ping off to the side, but it's just as quick just to do it like that. Just scrape it off the blades. Okay, so that's a good little tip. If you're making cakes and you've got batter sort of just caught up around the blades, then if you select your turbo function, it tends to just spin, sort of centrifuge it off, and it all ends up splattered around the side of the bowl, and then you can pick the rest up. So that's my dough done. Exactly the same process with pizza dough actually. I'm gonna try and put you a bit more central like that on the other camera. And then all I do is I wrap it in a silicone mat, and to fast ferment it, I pop my Varoma on top of my Thermomix. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to put some water in. I'm just going to fill it up with some warm water. This is a really neat trick for being able to fast ferment dough in about 30 minutes. You put the lid on, and then this is the Varoma attachment, which comes with a Thermomix. I don't need the tray. I'm just going to stick this in this wrapped up in the silicone mat in the dish, like that. Put the lid on. I'm going to sit it back on top of my Thermomix. And then I go to my 3 dials, which is my home screen, and I'm just going to pop in 30 minutes. We do have a fermentation mode, but the minimum is an hour, and we don't really need an hour. I'm going to put it on 70 degrees. So whichever dial is tapped, this selector button will operate, and then just speed 2. So the bowl temperature is going to be 70 degrees, but by the time the residual heat rises, we're going to have a lovely, warm, sort of 37 to 40 degree body temperature in here, ideal for fermenting dough. So I'm just going to leave that to heat away. Now, if we need this Thermomix again, as you can see, I've got a little friend device there. I will just transfer the whole lot across to the friend, but I'm not sure that we're going to need it in the next half an hour. So let's get on with cooking the curry. So let's just turn you around again on this side. Okay, so as you can see, the butter has heated up. So now it's going to ask me to put in 150 grams of onion. So off I go with the onion. So my scales are at 0. And I'm just going to drop in my onion like this. Click on next. 20 grams of ginger. So my ginger, I have peeled it. I don't peel the ginger. I just make sure I wash it. It's a little tip I picked up from one of the Chinese chefs, actually. They said you didn't really need to peel. Might have been an Indian chef, didn't need to peel ginger, just make sure you gave it a good wash. And then some coriander. I love coriander. My children don't, but whenever my son makes this, he avoids using the coriander, but I love it, so I always put it in. And yeah, my son has been making this curry. He's now 15 and a half, but I've got my Thermomix about 4.5 years ago. So at 11, he was making this particular curry from scratch. I just used to get the ingredients out, and he could follow the step-by-step instructions and make a curry for the family, which is lovely. And then some garlic, that goes in, and then some chilies. So I'm not quite sure how hot this chili is. My children will complain if I make this too spicy. Well, one of them will, 2 of them will probably. Right, I'm just going to put in maybe half a chili, and I couldn't find green chilies this afternoon, so it's going to have to be red. But I am going to put in a little bit of green pepper as well, because I couldn't find the chili. And then pop the lid on. I might pop a little bit of extra chili in. And then, as you can see, it even tells you to put the lid on. So everything is thought through for you. And this is what makes the cooking process so quick and easy. There is quite a lot of mental energy involved in cooking, especially when you're referring to a recipe and you're sort of working out where you get up to, and then you step away or the phone rings, and then you have to sort of go back over the steps. But on the Thermomix, it's all delivered to you in real time. So now we are going to chop all of that up in 10 seconds. I'll just let that stop. Okay, I'll show you what that's going to look like in a minute. Scrape down the sides. So again, if you've got children cooking, it means you don't have to, I hope that, there you go. So you can see what it's done to all of that in just 10 seconds. It just means when you've got children that are cooking in the kitchen with you, you don't have to be looking out at what they're doing all the time, because that's the job of the Thermomix. It's there as the sous chef to walk you through the recipe. Okay, now it wants us to put the simmering basket on top. So it's going to saute those vegetables. This is the simmering basket. Again, it's one of the accessories that comes with the Thermomix. It's called the simmering basket because usually it sits inside and you will cook rice or vegetables, possibly at the same time as making a sauce or a soup. But it's got another function. You can use it, you can actually use it as a sieve. We've got some vents on the front. If I've got time to make some lemonade, I might do that. But it also acts as a bit of a splatter guard sitting on top. So there we go. So that is just going to sit on top and it's going to saute the vegetables for you for 5 minutes. So while it's sauteing away, you've got that opportunity then to do something else. You don't have to be there watching it, looking at it, making sure it doesn't burn, all that malarkey. You can do some clearing up or just sit down with a glass of wine. So while that's cooking away, I might just get my pan on for my naan breads. So I'm gonna, as you can see in the background, and I'll take you over in a minute to when I make my naan breads, I'm gonna heat my pan up to a high heat, okay? Get it really nice and hot. And then with the dough that I've got, so if I just turn round for a moment, you can see here, on this Thermomix screen where we made the dough, I've got a little bookmark here. And that means that if you come out of a recipe at any point, the Thermomix will save your position. So you can just go back in to the bookmark. It's just counting down. And then you pick up where you left off. So it's telling me to transfer the dough onto a silicone bread mat, shape into a ball. So we've done that, then transferred into the prepared bowl and set aside for it to prove. And then we're picking up the recipe here. So the dough has proved and we now need to divide it into 6 portions. So I'm going to divide it into about 3 because of course I halved the recipe. So let's just do that. I just alter that. You're right. Yeah. Hi, have you been to the park? Yeah, right. So 3 portions. Then it will tell me on the front of my screen, work each piece into a ball using the heel of your hands, stretch each dough portion into an oval shape, then lightly dust with flour. I've already done that. And then it's going to, and then we're going to cook them. So I don't really even bother shaping them into a ball. So you can see, I mean, this is what I love about the Thermomix dough. It's so easy and perfect to use when it comes out. You don't have to add extra flour, extra water to it. It's just ready to go. So all I'm going to do here is just roll it out. You can hand stretch it if you want to. Roll it out into sort of a traditional naan bread kind of shape, which I suppose is a bit of an oval. I've got my hob is wet, so it's just making a funny noise under my frying pan. Like that. Okay, so I'm doing this all whilst my Thermomix is cooking the curry. So again, having your Thermomix just allows you to be fully focused on a different task without having to worry about what is going on in the Thermomix. So it takes an element of that cooking process away, which can be really useful, especially when you're barbecuing and doing things like that, because you can be getting your Thermomix to make like a peppercorn sauce or a hollandaise sauce to go alongside your grilled meats, and you don't have to think about what it's doing. You just chuck all your ingredients in and let it get on with cooking and temperature controlling itself. So there's my naan breads, as you can see, rolled out. So they don't have to be perfect. You know, they look quite good when they're all different shapes as well. They're a little bit rustic. Right, my frying pan is hot. So I'm just going to unplug the let's just unplug you from just gonna unplug that light. Hang on, it's just going to put me in shadow for a bit, but I'm going to bring you over here so that you can see what I'm going to do with that bread. So hopefully, can you see? Hopefully you can see my frying pan there. I've got two views. Right, so all I'm going to do now, it's really hot. I'm just going to drop it in, drop the bread in. And I'm just going to let it cook for a minute or so on each side. So let's see if I can find a set of tongs. Check I haven't got flour all over me. I normally have. Let's have a look at what's going on. Yeah, so it's colouring up nicely on there. So let's just let that cook. Might actually turn it up again a bit higher. And then I'm going to turn it over to the other side as well. And I might just dust it with a little bit of flour, but I think I was a bit super organised earlier and popped that flour away. Okay, right, so that's puffing up nicely. Now, just going to get a plate ready. So that looks good. And then all you do, once it's cooked, is you pop it onto a plate and then brush it. Actually, I could do it over here with a little bit of your garlic butter that you made at the start of the recipe. So let's get another one on. And hopefully I'm not going to forget about that one. I'm just going to come back over here. Alison, you snuck in. I didn't have a chance to say hello to you, but hi, Alison. And we'll come back while that's cooking away. If my smoke alarms go off, it means I've forgotten that it's in the pan. And I'll bring you back to the curry. So now it's asking me to add a little bit of salt. So you can see it's just sauteed the onion, garlic and chili for me. Right, what's that looking like? That's looking good. Right, where am I? A little bit of salt. Okie dokes. Salt in. Next. Some cumin. So now we're going to start layering up this curry with some spices. I'm going to just turn my naan bread over. So a little bit of cumin. Trying to find I know I had a measuring spoon here earlier. Now, again, I didn't actually have any ground cumin earlier, but I did have cumin seeds. So all I did was put my cumin seeds in a Thermomix and ground them for a minute. So it's also a spice. It can also double as a spice grinder. So my cumin goes in. There we go. I love a bit of cumin. Some coriander. Oh, I think that's probably about 2 teaspoons in there. So I'm just going to dump the whole lot in. And then some turmeric. Always take the opportunity to put in a nice amount of turmeric because it's so good for you and anti-inflammatory. And then I'm going to put the lid on again with the little measuring cup inside. And it's just going to toast those spices for me for 3 minutes whilst I then come back over here and I'll show you what's going on in my pan. How easy is that to make a naan bread? Look at that. Perfect. Beautiful. All nicely risen. So let's just move that one over to the side. Try and get the angle right. And then brush it again with that lovely garlic butter that I made earlier. Don't they look fab? So I've just got one more to get in the pan. Let's do it with a little bit of little bit of flour before I put it in the pan. Drop it in and leave it to cook again. So nice and easy. Right. Has anybody got any questions for me? We've just got a couple of minutes to go on toasting those spices. I may well just stop it though. But happy to take a quick pause and have a drink and answer some questions. You can pop them in the chat if you want to. So you can see my Thermomix is just counting down here. We've got your time, the temperature and the speed counting down. Now on this screen, what I'm going to do, and again, I can't forget that I've got that in the pan. I'm just going to show you around the menu of the Thermomix. So this is what we call the home screen. We've got time, temperature and speed. If we swipe across, here are all our functions. Okay, so here are all our modes. Let me just flip that over. So we can put our scales on. So all of these modes that you've seen come on as part of the guided recipe are always available to you through our mode screen. So if you know what you're doing and you just want to whip up a bit of dough, you can put your scales on, and then once everything is weighed in, you then put your dough mode on. We've got a turbo mode, which is essentially it's a bit like a pulse on a food processor. So it's a very intense burst of power used for chopping. Then we've got the cleaning mode, always everyone's favorite mode. So yes, your Thermomix will clean itself. What you need to do is put about half a litre to a litre of water in. You've got the instructions on the screen there. And then a drop or two of washing up liquid or some vinegar. No more than a couple of drops of washing up liquid though, unless you want to add a 26 mode to your Thermomix and turn it into a bubble machine. Which often happens when new customers get a bit carried away putting their washing up in as they would do a washing up bowl, and then you get all the soap suds coming out. So you just simply tell it whether it's been making dough or whether you want to give it a universal clean, and then it will run a specific mode for you. Of course, it can blend. Just keeping an eye on that naan at the back there. That is lovely. So all I'm going to do is just pop on. How easy was that? Those naan breads. You know, you don't really even have to know what you're doing to make these. You just follow the instructions on the screen. But that is, again, why when you become a Thermomix owner, you also get access to cooking classes and demos, because it's our job then to make sure that you know how to use your Thermomix properly. You're taking full advantage of it, but also it's our job to give you confidence to make things that you may well not have attempted prior to owning your Thermomix. Right, I'm going to come back to that function screen because I want to get on with this curry. So that's toasted the spices for me. Now it's asking me to add a bit of water. So in I go. Let's put in the water. There we are. And then lid on. And I think we've got another 5 minutes going on. Well, it's now just reducing the water and making more of a paste. So while that's happening, I can come back to this. Okay, so we've got an egg boiler. This is great fun, the egg boiler. You can tell your Thermomix how you want your eggs cooked. So whether you want your egg yolk soft, medium soft, and any combination up to hard boiled. And when your eggs come out, they will be absolutely spot on perfect. So that can be quite useful as well. My fingers are wet, so it's not going to like it. Might have to just dry the screen. Okay, you can use it as a kettle because you can just heat up the water to whatever temperature that you like. You know, in a domestic kitchen, it's probably not going to be the most used mode. But if you are traveling with your Thermomix or going camping or taking it away in a motorhome or on a boat, it can be quite useful because then it just minimises the additional equipment that you have to take. You can use your Thermomix to heat up leftovers, and you can defrost and warm baby food on it. Thicker mode, this is one of my personal favourites. This is brilliant for making sauces. So things like a hollandaise sauce, a bechamel sauce or a white sauce, all you need to do is you just chuck all the ingredients in, weigh them all in. Obviously, you can follow a guided recipe if you don't know how to do that, and the right quantities. And then during the recipe, the thicker mode will come on at the appropriate point, and you just click start. And then 10 minutes later, 8 or 10 minutes later, depending on the weight of ingredients that you've got in there, and the required cooking temperature, you will come back to a perfect sauce having been cooked for you. So it's great to make custard with. So often on a Sunday dinner, if we're having like a crumble or something which involves custard afterwards for pudding, I just get one of the kids to make the custard. And I don't have to get involved in that at all. I just ask them to follow the instructions on the screen. You can use your Thermomix as a rice cooker. You can use it to ferment yogurt with. It's got a slow cooking function. You can sous vide with it. And then we've got this potato peeler. So for those that I've spoken to on the phone, this is the only optional attachment. It's the blade cover and peeler. So you can see it's got a serrated edge. This is what you need to put in if you want to peel potatoes. And again, it will walk you through the steps on the screen. So you put your potatoes in with some water on top of this, and then you just click start. And 4 minutes later, you'll have all your potatoes peeled for you. Right, so let's come back to this. I'm just going to stop that because I think it will be fine after a couple of minutes. So we've got a 20-second countdown basically on the clock. This is to allow the steam to reside, just to settle a little bit, so that when you lift the lid off, you are not going to be sort of confronted with a full face worth of steam. So again, good safety feature. A bit of a pain if you're an impatient cook like me, but obviously better that you don't get, a whole load of hot steam in your face. So I'm going to pretend we've done all of that step and that we've reduced the liquid, and then it's going to tell us to put in the marinated chicken. So I've had this marinating all afternoon, which is going to be delicious. So I can just see children disappearing into a different room where I keep the chocolate. I think they're taking full advantage that my back is turned. Right. So right. Right, there we are. They sense weakness, you see, when I'm doing these. I can get away with stuff that they wouldn't have done normally. Click on next. Now it's asking me to put in 70 grams of tomato puree. So I think that's a new one actually. Let's just squeeze the tomato puree in. In it goes. And then now this is the bit that I can't quite bring myself to do. So you can, of course, put in all the single cream and it is absolutely delicious. But my little hack is I use, and this is double cream, by the way, those of you that can spot the blue container will see it's double cream, not the red single cream container. I use 100 grams of cream. And again, if you wanted to make this dairy-free, you can do it with a dairy-free equivalent. It works really well, and I've done that at demos. But instead of the full amount of cream, I am just going to put in I'm going to make the other 400 grams up with a can of cream of tomato soup, which turns it more, I suppose, into like a chicken tikka masala, rather than a traditional butter chicken. But anyway, I've got to eat this, and I'm not I can't, as I say, I have to watch what I eat. As you can imagine, I'm a chef, so I eat an awful lot of food and get to taste an awful lot of food because I spend all day playing in the kitchen. So I'm just going to make my healthy hack equivalent. And actually, I have a lot of customers that now do it this way, and they prefer it, and some of them prefer it. So I'm just going to give it a little stir around as it goes in. But the chicken is raw, marinated. That's just gone into the sauce. And then all we're going to do now is I added in a lot more than 500 grams of chicken, by the way. So this recipe makes quite a lot of sauce. So I tend to find that you can see that the Thermomix is almost full. I usually add in about 1 kilogram of chicken, and then it will comfortably do about 8 portions actually. Then my cooking guides are on, and all I'm going to do is let it cook for 20 minutes. It's going to cook out 100 degrees. All I have to do is just turn that to a gentle stir, and it's going to cook away from me. So at the same time, so if you had a Thermomix friend, so this is the Thermomix friend, this little companion device. This device, you can see here, sitting side by side my main Thermomix. In fact, I'm just going to swap the bowls over. This was developed and brought out last year as a way that you can increase quantities, or for those that do a lot of cooking, let's just turn that, then you can transfer, once your Thermomix is in the main kind of part of the cooking process, what you would do is you would transfer your bowl from the Thermomix over to the friend. They talk to each other via Bluetooth. So your time, temperature and speed would be already programmed in for you. But for the sake of argument, it isn't here. So I'll just turn it to the appropriate settings. So I think it's 100, and then lid on, and then just a gentle stir speed. There we go. And then your Thermomix friend will take over the cooking process, allowing you to, just add some water in that, put a second bowl into your Thermomix and get on with doing something else. So that's the concept of the friend. And often I use it to sort of just ferment my dough if I need to use my Thermomix for something else. So, right, we're at 5 to 7. So I'm not doing too badly. As you can see, I've got about 18 minutes left on there. What I thought I might do is just make something that I often do at demos, and I'm afraid that you won't be able to taste it, but you'll just have to take my word for it. It is really delicious. So it's just come out of there, and I'm gonna, because we finished on the function screen, actually, the other thing I can show you is this sort of concept of cookie dough and having recipes accessible through the screen. So here on my cookie dough app, I have created folders of recipes. So I have got folders for things like chicken and baking, and you know, you name it, I've probably got it on here, salads, soups, that kind of thing. So you can bookmark recipes and organize them into folders through your cookie dough account, and then they will always appear on your screen. So for example, if I just click the Asian recipes, you can see that I've got all my recipes that I've gathered together in my Asian folder. So that's pretty handy as well. The other thing is you can save all the collections that Thermomix bring out. So Thermomix, every Thermomix market, or every market where we sell Thermomix right across the world, will bring out their own recipe books every single month. So Cookie Dough isn't a static platform. We're constantly adding to it for your £40 annual subscription. So from the UK alone, you will get at least 2 new collections every month. And then we sell Thermomix in about 20 markets across the world. And each of those markets is bringing out new collections as well. So you get access to all of those. And then you can simply save the collection to your Cookie Dough account, and it will be available to you through the screen. So you can see, here's the Taste of India. And collections range from sort of 8 to 10 recipes up to 4 cookery books. And as you can see, the butter chicken that we're doing is part of this recipe book. But we've got some absolutely fantastic recipes in here. You can even make your own coconut milk. You can make the cumin rice, that is delicious. You can steam your rice in the Thermomix. And often, because I've got 2 Thermomix, so side by side, I will have once my Thermomix has started that 20-minute cooking process, I use my second Thermomix to steam the rice. If you haven't got 2 Thermomix or a Thermomix friend, then you would simply just do things sort of in a certain sequence. So I would probably recommend that you make your curry first. You can decant it into something like this, which it's not, I've got stuff in that, which here we are. So one of these are Thermomix serving bowls. So these are fantastic, actually, these Thermomix serving bowls. They are designed to keep food either hot or cold at the table. So this will keep ice cream frozen, but it will also keep food hot for up to 3 hours at the table. So they're sort of double walled stainless steel, a bit like a thermos flask. But I usually would transfer my curry sauce into here, keep it warm, and then just get on with making the rice. So if you refer any customers this month, so if you've got friends or family that come into your kitchen and seen your Thermomix, you will, as a thank you from us, if they go on to buy a Thermomix, because frankly, when people see it, they're just so blown away by it, we will give you one of these Thermomix serving bowls for free, and they're worth nearly £50. So there's a little added incentive to talk to people and just tell them all about Thermomix and how, you know, how you're finding it. We often find that once our owners get their Thermomix in their kitchens, then they just love to share it with their family and friends, because it just makes cooking so much fun, and it becomes a real talking point as well if you have people over. So you've got a little added incentive for us, from us, to share Thermomix with your family and friends as well. Okay, right, so where was I? So I was coming back through that main menu. What I wanted to do, that's what I was doing, I knew I'd go sort of slightly off piece, is I'm just going to show you how easy it is to make a little bit of Sicilian lemonade. So this is the sort of drink that you would find in Prezzo or Pizza Express if you've got children and you take them to restaurants like that, or some fancy bars would do it as well. The Sicilian lemonade, they'll charge you sort of $4.50 or so for a glass of this stuff, and you can make it in your Thermomix for about 20p, the cost of a couple of lemons. Right, so first of all, I've just dried out my bowl because it's going to ask me, and this is one of the things I often talk to people about on the phone, is making icing sugar. We're going to make some icing sugar to start with, and I need the bowl to be dry for that, otherwise the sugar's just going to dissolve. Right, which is not what we want. So zero off my scales. I am going to just reduce the sugar somewhat. So again, you know, I tend to put in about 80 grams of sugar into this particular recipe. Click on next. Now we're going to put the lid on. My lid, dry that off. Click on next, and then we've got 10 seconds on the clock. No heat. And we're just going to turn that speed dial to speed 10. You might start to see, I don't know if you can start to see, you probably can't pick it up on there. It's what looks like steam's coming out the top. And that is your sugar being ground down to icing sugar. There we go. Just bring you over from there. Can you see? There's my icing sugar. So it's all that took 10 seconds. Magimix takes about 15 minutes to do that, just saying. Shouldn't rubbish them really. But that's one of the big differences between just a typical food processor and something like a Thermomix with its ultra fast power. Right, 2 lemons. I bought some lemons earlier. This is all being made in real time. I'll just give them a quick wash. This always amazes people, because now I'm just going to cut them in half. I'm not going to peel them. I'm not going to take the pips out. I'm just going to literally cut them in half and put them in. Then it's asking me to put the lid on. And the turbo function is now going to come on. So you're going to see the power of that turbo function. It's just going to chop. Then it wants me to add about 1 litre of water. So normally I would add some chilled water to this, but I didn't get round to doing that before I came online. Don't quite have enough there. Let's just get some out the tap and chuck in that. That's gone cold. And then normally I would just use my filtered water out the fridge, but don't have time for that. So I'm just going to get some cold water out the tap. Add that in. So I tend to, it says 965. I like nice round numbers. So I'm going to go for about 1,000 or just over. Click on next, put the lid in. And then it's just going to mix that at speed 3 for 10 seconds. Then, just move you back. What I'm going to do, so I've just got my jug ready, and then, actually this is quite cool. Let's just turn you back to this. So you can see here, I've got an in-screen video tutorial. So lots of our recipes now have got these little video tutorials. So if you're not quite sure what to do, if you haven't done a recipe before, it shows you exactly what you're doing. So we've got this when it comes to shaping bread. So there's lots of our bread recipes now. The baguettes one in particular does the same thing. So you can see exactly what to do when you take your dough out of the Thermomix. Right, so now it's showing me what to do. I'm just going to use this simmering basket. And as I mentioned, they're very versatile. All the accessories have got multiple different functions. So you can use the Varoma, for example, as a colander. You can use it as a salad spinner. So you can put your salad leaves in there, wash them, and then give them a good shake out. Just going to get rid of that and put that over there. And then you can use this simmering basket, as you can see. I'm just going to pour it into the jug like that. And that is absolutely delicious. And when I give this out at demos, face-to-face demos, people are always amazed at how quick and easy it is and the taste as well. So that's really lovely. Lovely bit of fresh lemonade. And of course, you get all the goodness from having the fresh lemons in there as well. So none of this like, you know, lemonade with artificial sort of sweeteners and flavors. You've got all the goodness from the whole lemons in there, and it is really, really delicious. Lots of different flavors on here as well. On cookie dough, rather, you've got watermelon lemonade, strawberry, raspberry. There's a Moroccan mint lemonade, which is absolutely brilliant. Right, I'm just conscious we just run over by 5 minutes, but this is still cooking away. So what I'm going to show you now is just very quickly. I'm going to share with you my screen. So Amber said, does the Thermomix come with silicone mats and the rolling pin? No, it doesn't. So this is just one of my rolling pins I had as a cake decorator. These, you can pick these up in the range. They're, you know, £3 or £4. The silicone mats, you can buy the silicone mats from our website, or if you host a demo for us this month in July, that can be either online or face-to-face, and invite 3 or 4 friends. We are going to give you one of those silicone baking mats. So where's my one? Here it is. This is my silicone mat. They're great actually, because they've got all the guides on them. So, and you can see that my dough has actually fermented in there nicely. So we will give you one of those for free if you host a demo, and invite some friends round. And at demos are a really great way of finding out new recipes. They're a good way of combining seeing your friends with having a bit of fun and learning some stuff, because we make lots of different recipes, and then you can sit down and eat it all together. Okay, right. So let me share my screen. I'm going to go on to Safari, share, because I just wanted to show you, hopefully you can see my screen now. So this is Cookie Dough. So when you register on Cookie Dough, it will look like this, and it will be personalized to your details. So if you scroll down, you can see the latest recipes that we've brought out. You can see what's being most cooked in the UK this week. Often when I do demos with my team, a lot of the recipes that we cook feature in the most cooked, because we inspire our customers and owners to try out the recipes that we've shared. This is one of our new books, which is really nice. This Go Green Feel Good book. So you've got access to that through your cooking, through Cookie Dough. We do hard copy books, and often our books are available as host gifts as well for hosting a demo. And sometimes it's quite nice to flip through a hard copy book. So we've got a selection of articles. So as you scroll across, got lots of different articles. So it's a bit like reading the Waitrose Food Illustrated. And then, as you can see, you can scroll down. And then these are the latest collections. So this one looks lovely. So for those chefs amongst you, Simon Mogan is the owner of Long Plume, the Michelin-starred restaurant, and he has done us a collection which has been released this month, a selection of his recipes that he cooks in the Thermomix. So there's some amazing things on there. So that's a new one. I'm going to definitely try out some of those recipes. And then if you go to the search function, so this very quickly, I just wanted to show you, vegetable stock paste is one of the first things you've got to make with your Thermomix. So if you go click on there, I'll show you mine. This is what happens when you start having a Thermomix. I'll get a selection of my jars out here. Right. Don't know whether you can see all of this. I'll talk about that later, actually. But stock paste, absolutely brilliant thing to do with your Thermomix. Great way of using up leftover vegetables hanging around in the bottom of your vegetable drawer. I've got chefs in my team that save all their potato peelings, sweet potato peelings, carrot peelings, parsnip peelings, freeze them down, and then when they've got enough of them, I think it's something like 750 grams or 800 grams of vegetables in total, they put it all into their Thermomix and then cook it out for 20 minutes or so and then blend it, and you end up, I don't know if you can still see me, I hope you can, which one, I'm very bad at labeling things, but you end up with this huge jar full, I think I might have doubled the recipe here, of this beautiful vegetable stock paste. Again, you know, you use this in place of stock cubes, so you use a teaspoon or two of it in a recipe. It's absolutely delicious. Great way of saving waste from the bin and using up food that would otherwise go in the bin. And also you'd be amazed at how much it saves you. Those little Knorr stock pots, I think they're currently about £2 for 8 of them. I could probably go through that in a week, actually. So now I just make myself that, and I'm saving myself probably somewhere between £8 to £10 a month just by using my own stock paste. So with any recipe, you've got the option of bookmarking it, so that's adding it to your favourites folder or adding it to a collection. So you can see this is how you build up your collections. So I might just put it into, I don't know, I'm just going to put it in interesting stuff. Then you can add it to your week. So say I want to make, I'm running out, I want to make that tomorrow. You can also add the ingredients onto your shopping list as well. So again, Cookie Do, you've got over 80,000 recipes available to you. So if I just come out of that, there we go, 81,425 you'll find. So let's go into my week. So you can search for pretty much anything. And you'll see that here is my shopping list. So I've got these ingredients, these recipes on my shopping list. So I've added those recipes to my shopping list. I can just go to show ingredients. I can look at them either by category. So if I'm walking around the supermarket, it zones it for me, so I know what I need to buy in the baking aisle and the drinks aisle, etc. Or you can look at it by recipe, whichever you prefer. Then if you've got ingredients, say for example salt, I've got that, I can take that off. Paprika, I know I've got that, I can take that off. If you want to then add anything in particular, you can add in your additional items, and then when you're happy with your shopping list, you can click order ingredients and you can choose between these stores. So we can have a little look at what those ingredients would cost at Waitrose. So it's usually, when I do it through this Cookie Do website, it will tell me it's going to cost £115 at Waitrose. And I think, oh, I'll just have a little look at Tesco and see what it's going to cost at Tesco. So £84 at Tesco's. And Sainsbury's, usually somewhere in between, and then Ocado. So you can check out which supplier is going to give you the best prices if that's something that you're concerned about. And actually lots of customers love this facility alone. It can save you a substantial amount of money once you start planning what food you want to make and then getting really organized, and then you just order the ingredients really for the recipes that you're going to make. So again, you can search Cookie Do. So if I go back to Cookie Do, You can search, at the moment we're searching recipes, but you can search for collections. You'll see there's a lot of collections in different languages. So you can put filters on and filter them just on the English ones. So let's just show you the English collections. There we are. So we've got, hopefully, mostly now collections. So we've got 640 books. We've got some French ones in there because I filtered on Canada. There we go. So here's this Go Green Feel Good recipe book, and there's some fab recipes in here actually. Apple peel and spice mix. Look at that, orange zest infusion. There's something that you can make with banana peels. I don't know if it's in this book, but I think you can make a banana peel curry. But there's some really, really good recipes and ideas for using up leftovers or parts of vegetables and food that you might otherwise pop in the bin. So any recipe book, you can save it to your Cookie Do account. And then if you go back to my recipes, you'll notice if I go into saved, let's have a look. It might not, depending on my Wi-Fi, it might not be there immediately, but it should update reasonably quickly. Where is it? I've got too many books in it. There it is. And so that will now be available to me through my Thermomix screen as well, under my saved collections. Right, so that's Cookie Do. So I'm just going to come back now, and my curry's finished cooking. So let's just move this out of the way. So you can see it's finished cooking. Next, and then it says serve with rice or Indian bread to soak up the sauce. So let's just show you what that looks like. So can you see I've got a whole curry that's been cooked for me. The meat is still, I shouldn't put my fingers in really, but I've got asbestos fingers being a chef. The meat is still in nice big chunks. It looks absolutely delicious. Let me just give that a stir. And that has all been cooked really whilst I've been chatting away doing something else. And that is the whole sort of philosophy really behind the Thermomix. So brilliant if you're really busy and you haven't, you want to eat great quality, restaurant quality food, but you haven't got time to stand there lovingly stirring a pan. You've got your Thermomix as your sous chef in your kitchen doing that for you. So just to wrap up, I just wanted to show you a couple of other things that I've made in my Thermomix recently. So this is what happens when you have a Thermomix. You end up with all these lovely jars of homemade produce in your fridge. And actually, there is really no effort involved in making things like this, as the owners on here will tell you. I think some people sometimes can be a little bit nervous and think, well, I wouldn't have time to cook like you do, or to make all this stuff. But actually that's where the Thermomix comes in, because there really is no effort involved at all in making things like, as you can see, there's not much left because I like to eat this by the spoonful, but that is mango chutney, which goes it's absolutely brilliant with the curries and the naan breads. And again, it couldn't be easier to make. Chuck it all in, let it saute the onions and chili out, and then you add your mangoes in, and then it just temperature controls the rest of the cooking process. This was a sweet chili sauce that I made to go with some kebabs the other week. And again, it makes a big pot of the sauce, so the next time I make the recipe, I don't have to make that part of the recipe. But again, there was really no time involvement. There's some pesto in here that I made the other day. I bought a load of basil for £1, huge big bag of it. It was reduced, it was about a third of the price. So I put it in my Thermomix with a lot of olive oil and some parmesan and cashew nuts, and made my own pesto. And of course, this was the vegetable stock paste. So this will last me months. So it just saves me from having to buy things like this. These vegetable stock pots. Instead of using these, I now just use that. And it imparts a lot of additional flavour. So if you're a cook and love cooking, I have a lot of chefs that just, this is one of the features they really like about their Thermomix, is that they're able to very easily make these store cupboard essentials, control exactly what goes into them, and also use up sort of produce that might otherwise go in the bin. So there we go. So I think all I need to say now, I know I've got some owners on here, so but I've also got some people that are considering becoming owners. I'll just run through the offer that we've got on until Sunday. So we are offering up to 3 years interest-free finance for the Thermomix. So the Thermomix price currently is 1149. The price is going to be going up on Tuesday. We don't know what to, but I have heard whisperings now that it might be by £100 because our costs have risen by about 9% as a company overall with all the price rises. So watch this space for the increased price. But for the next couple of days until Sunday, the price is held at 1149. We're offering up to 3 years interest-free finance. So you can buy a Thermomix for as little as £1 a day. So that's why I often talk at these demos in terms of cost savings as well, because it's important that you get your Thermomix to work for you. So you can see really just by, if you buy a takeaway as a family, you know, it would cost us £50, £60 to buy a takeaway with rice and naan breads and a couple of different dishes. You can see just how easily it's come together. I've really not had to do much at all. This is absolutely delicious, this recipe. I just wish you could all taste it with me. And we've got the homemade bread and the curry ready to go in about an hour with minimal effort, and it will save you an absolute fortune on buying a takeaway. So this is the whole sort of philosophy behind the Thermomix, is that you are just diverting money that you would probably be spending anyway in the supermarket or perhaps on, you know, takeaways or in restaurants, and using an element of that to pay for your Thermomix, and then and you will get the savings through the changes in your shopping habits. So on interest-free finance on a 1-year plan, the Thermomix works out at just under £100 a month. On a 2-year plan, it's about 50, and on a 3-year plan, it's £30. So that's where we get the figure of about £1 a day, and it really, honestly, is a no-brainer. For every pound you spend, you will get 2 to 3 back if you are using it properly, and that is where I come in. That is my job, to make sure you all are using it to its full potential. And if we've got Alison still on here, she's one of our customers, hopefully she'll attest to that the amount of added value that you get from your advisor, because this is why we do what we do. We're very passionate about these machines, and we're very passionate about people getting cooking and using them and helping them to save money. Oh, thank you, Alison. She's put a lovely little comment in the chat. I couldn't live without my Thermomix. I use it every day several times. So if you buy outright this month, we're giving you a second bowl for free. These bowls are worth £169. We're not very generous generally as a company. We don't like giving away things for free. So this was a complete surprise to all of us. I've been doing this 4 years. We've never done a free bowl in that time. So until the 3rd of July, so until Sunday, when you buy a Thermomix and buy outright, you're going to get a free second mixing bowl, and they're really useful because you can chop and change, as you can see, between different recipes. And then if you buy through one of our finance plans, we're giving you the option of saving 50% on a second mixing bowl. So you can add on the second mixing bowl. We're giving you 50% off the price. So in total, it would be 1233. So there are all your options. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you've decided that you can't live without one, then I hope that you will want to join our community. Please go back to the advisor that invited you to watch this demo, because I do run demos on behalf of my team and other advisors as well. So if anybody's on here talking to another advisor, please go back to them and place your order through them. But I'm hoping that some of you will obviously this weekend decide that offer is too good to be true, and want a Thermomix in your life as well. So there we go. So hopefully you've all enjoyed that. I hope the new owners amongst you have found that useful. I should really plate this up, shouldn't I, so that you can see it. Let's just pop a little bit of this on a plate. The other thing is, you don't destroy your kitchen in the process either. So you know, you're able. Well, if I hadn't been talking, I'd have been able to sort of clear up in between. But, you know, really, you minimize so much. You minimize sort of the time spent cooking, but you minimize the washing up. You haven't got ingredients and like pots and pans and utensils all over the kitchen. either that require washing up. So, and then at the end of it, the Thermomix will just wash itself up. So there we go. How's that for a nice steaming bowl of, like, well, I suppose it's not so much butter chicken, but chicken tikka masala. And then, where are my matching plates? Little naan bread on the side.
For anyone who hasn't got a Thermomix, I will say it really does change your life. It just, my husband didn't cook for 48 years and then I got ill and he had to learn to cook. Now I think he'd rather get rid of me than the Thermomix. That's not true, but he does use it and it is such an easy machine to make, and you just want to make things every day in it. And anyway, I'll leave it.
Good luck. Thank you, Alison. That's really kind of you to say. And you will find yourself, that's the other thing, you will find yourself probably cooking more than you ever thought possible. And even those customers who say they're not really into cooking, it's not really their thing, with a Thermomix, it just changes that whole dynamic and you actually want to use it and play with it.
You just think what say.
Yeah, you get, and that's again the benefit. So if for those of you, if you are on Facebook and not part of my customer group, please do join my customer group, which is Thermomix Whiz customer group, because on there we share, again, you know, Alison, you will say you've had lots of benefit through that, haven't you, through our sharing recipes, other customers and other advisors sharing recipes. I will often do little videos on there, sort of technique videos, so that we can really help our customers get using their Thermomix and get it to pay for itself, which is what it's all about. It's an investment, but it's an investment that always pays. So there we go. Right, I'm going to stop recording now.